Hi, this is National Master Dan Heisman, and we're here with another video to help you improve your chess game. Before we get into today's video, I'd like to remind everybody, please tell your friends, your chess friends, about my channel, Dan Heisman Chess. If you like it, maybe they'll like it too. I won a couple of awards for Best Instructional Video from the Chess Journalists of America. And I think I can help a lot of people get better at chess, but we need to spread the word. So I depend on you to help me do that. I do put it out on Twitter and so on, but your help is greatly appreciated. You can also like videos and subscribe to the channel, of course, and I appreciate that too. All right, this is a position from our chess club last night. Two of the players were playing, and Black has just played Queen to C6. Now, I teach my students, when somebody makes a move, there's two things you want to ask about a move. You want to ask, is that move safe? Which is the same question you want to ask about your own moves. But you also ask, what are all the things that move does? Don't just ask, why did they do that? Because if a move does 3 or 4 things, and the reason why you think he did it was one of those 4, and you miss the other ideas, those ideas could come back to kill you on the next move. In this case, it's actually quite easy. When Black plays Queen to C6, there's really only one major thing that does, and it threatens to play Queen H1 check. So already if White is playing chess the right way, which is to look at his opponent's move and make sure he understands why they did it and what it does and what are all the things it does, then he would already know that Queen H1 check is the big idea there for Black. Let's say you don't do that though. Let's say you forget to ask yourself, what are all the things my opponent's move does, and you're just looking at your moves. Well, here White wants to look at his checks, captures, and threats. So in this position, White has a very strong check. He could play rook to f6 check. How good is that rook move? Well, if we look at it, it actually is pretty much mating, because if you play rook f6 check, there's no squares on the board that Black's king can go to that would not allow the queen to come in with check. For instance, if you play king to e7, then queen h7 check. If king to, let's say, d8, then rook checks, and you have to put the queen in the way, and you lose the queen. It could even be better things to do than that. There could be checkmates, but once you see the win of the queen, that's going to be quite enough. Let's go back. Let's say he plays king to e8. There's, again, lots of ways you can play this, but one easy way is to play queen checks, king here, and rook checks and win the queen again. Again, there could be mating attacks. I'm sure if I give it to the engine, he's going to say whether there's a mate there, and we'll do that in a second. On the other hand, if he moves the king to g7, then queen check, king h8, queen rook f8 is mate already. If he moves the king to g8, same idea, queen g6 check, followed by rook f8 mate. And if he moves the king to e8, then we can start with queen g6 check. Again, if he goes to the d file, we have rook takes d6 check, winning the queen. But if he plays king to e7, then we have check. And he can't go there because it's mate. So he'd have to play king here, and then we could check, and he has to put the queen in the way, and we could pin the queen, and so on. Just, you know, these are not necessarily all of White's best moves, just enough to show you that White's winning easily. Let's have the computer play this now. We'll turn on the Lichess engine here, Stockfish 16, and it says mate in 12. It says if Black plays perfectly, it's mate in 12. King e8, queen g6 check, king d8, queen g8 check, king c7, rook f7 check, and now if king b6, queen d8 check leads to mate in 2. So it says the best thing is to give up the queen with queen d7, rook takes check, king takes, e6 check, king c7. It says White should just get another queen to help him mate. Black can't do anything, d3. Queen d8 check, king b7. Again, none of this is important because we can do it. Now it wants to stop and take the pawn here to stop funny business. So pawn takes, always a good idea to make sure your opponent has no counterplay. Random move, get a queen, a5, queen b8 check, king a6, and now we have a million mates, queen b5 mate, like that. So rook f6 check is mate in, what did we say it was, 12? Mate in 12. So you're, and rook f6 check is a major candidate move because you're always looking for your checks, captures, and threats. And rook f6 check is the only safe check on the board. You can play queen f5 check, but then he takes with a knight. You can play rook g7 check, but then he plays king takes g7. So rook f6 check is the only safe check, and it does mate. But let's say you don't do that. Well, then what do you want to do? Well, you need to stop queen h1 check. So the second best move is to think defense first, since you're way, way ahead, and just play rook to g1 and stop the check, and you have a queen, a rook, and 6 pawns against a queen and knight and 5, and black has no real threats here, and white's just winning the game. But in the game, white took his time on this move, and unfortunately, he wasn't paying any attention to what his opponent would do. So he considered that he could win the pawn on d6 with a tempo and attack the queen. Now, when you do that, I call attacking something with a piece that's worth less an AWL. You might have seen my video called Attack with Something Worth Less. It's a really important issue in chess. There's a lot of things you can do to make threats in chess, but one of the biggest ones is what I call AWL, Attack with Something Worth Less. And when you do an AWL and you attack with something worth less, you don't just close your eyes and say, let's see what he does, I'll figure it out. If you're going to attack something that's worth more and you're forcing it to move, you pretty much have to know where it's going to go, or at least whether it has any important and dangerous squares to go to. Well, in this case, if white plays rook takes d6 and attacks the queen only has one check, and it only has one dangerous move. It has queen h1 check. So if white's doing his job and saying, if I play rook takes d6, I'm attacking the queen has to move, where would he go? The first thing you're going to look at is queen h1 check. But white, who is not a very strong player, obviously, didn't do that work, and he learned a lot from this game. We went over this game afterwards, and he said he learned his lesson. He played rook takes d6 without even checking to see where the queen could move. His opponent, who had been losing the past dozen moves or so, and his opponent, by the way, the black was the higher rated player, breathed a big sigh of relief and said, oh, thank you for forcing me to checkmate you. So black plays queen h1 check, no surprise to anyone except white. And now if you put the queen in the way, queen takes d1 as mate. So instead white played king d2, knowing that the end was coming. At that point it's too late. And of course black gleefully played queen d1 checkmate. And white, who had been winning and white had played pretty nicely up to now, just completely fell apart and lost here. And he felt pretty badly. But he learned a lot. He learned about avoiding hope chess, because when you play a move like rook d6, an AWL move, you're always looking to see what your opponent can do, whether he has checks, captures, or threats. If you're not doing that, I call that hope chess. Why do I call it hope chess? Well, not because you're hoping that he doesn't see queen h1 check, because you didn't see it at all yourself. What you're hoping is that once he does queen h1 check, since you didn't anticipate that, you hope that you have something to get out of it. But of course, your hope is forlorn here. There is no way to get out of it, and white's just losing. So this was an excellent example of hope chess. White played rook takes d6, did not even, whoops, let's move the video back down. Played rook takes d6, did not even attempt to figure out what black might do with the move. Black, of course, had set it up all along on his previous move. As I said, black had played queen to b6 to c6 on the previous move, and that should have been a dead giveaway that black wanted to desperately get back in the game. Why did black make such a desperate move? Well, he had nothing better. He was losing anyway. So he figured, all right, well, if he doesn't see it, I can win the game, but I'm losing anyway, so let's when you're losing, you can take chances. You can do things that maybe aren't very good, and with the idea that if your opponent does what white did here and miss something, it gets you back in the game. The general rule is the more you're winning, the more you want to pay attention to what your opponent can do, and the less important it is what you can do because you're winning so easily. And the more you're losing, the more you can take chances and make the board complicated and make moves that may not be the best move, but at least moves that if your opponent doesn't see what's happening can get you back in the game. And that's exactly what's happening here. Black played queen c6 with that one and only idea. And here white had those two chances to find it. His first chance was, what are all the things that queen c6 does? And the answer is, in this case, all isn't a very big number. It has one big thing that it does. And his second chance was when he analyzed rook takes d6, he's forcing the queen to move. If you're forcing the queen to move with this AWL, then you should pretty much have a good idea what you think your opponent can do. All right, I hope you find today's video very instructive. It's a short video, but it's a good one, and hopefully it helps people watching the video not fall into that. Again, please tell your friends about my channel, Dan Heisman Chess, and if you would like to like the video, great, and if you would like to subscribe, we've got about, I think, about 8,000 subscribers. See you next time. Bye.